Hello, how are you?
Hi. All right, I'm here. Yeah, I was in Canvas for a while and I looked at my watch. I said, oh, it's time for me to, I'm a little behind schedule. But that gives everybody time to get here. And let me mark who is present. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, good to see you. Let me let, I think Amanda got kicked out. Now Amanda's back. Hey, yeah, this is one of my classes. I don't get a lot of participants, but I know many of you are working and you attend when you can, which is great. So, and I also check to see if you're actively going in, submitting your work. I'm just marking in who's present. Yeah, Katori had to work. They changed her work schedule, but Katori's generally with us with Amanda. And oh, good to see you, Jacqueline. And Katori couldn't make it, and Amanda's here. Okay. How is everyone? How was your Easter holiday?
It was really nice. How was yours?
Mine was very nice. I thought the weather was beautiful. We had a small group of family. Most of us were fully vaccinated, which made it real nice. It gives you a feeling of more comfort and, you know, that
Getting back to normal.
yeah, that you can be, you know, close to them. We spent a lot of time outdoors, but yet, because the weather was beautiful. It didn't get cool until later in the evening, but the children ate outdoors on the patio. My sister has a beautiful area right off her deck, and it has this over covering. It is just really, really nice out there. And then later on, we went out and we were talking, and my grandchildren were there. It was just a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Beautiful day. These are times that what they say are priceless. Being with family and friends, but it was family. And as time goes on, we'll be able to invite friends of the family to join us. I want to share my screen, and we're progressing well in this class. Okay, you should be able to see the screen, and I'm pulling up food service management. And I always like to start with the course outline because I try to adhere as much as possible, because this semester is moving. You know, after spring break and Easter, boy, we have 5 weeks or so left in the semester. So let us focus on today. I'm definitely covering chapter 14 today. I covered diversity, which is in chapter 14, but I want to go over the theories of motivation. And you should have read chapter 14, but I will discuss chapter 14 today. You have until 11:59 tonight to submit your case study. So we'll go over the case study next week. Because it does say you have until 11:59 tonight to post it. So you have to the end of the day to get your case study posted. Some of you have already submitted. I'm going to open test number 2 after class, and it's going to be on chapter 14 and the workforce and staffing PowerPoint. So a lot of FTEs, which we practice FTEs. So you will be tested on FTEs also. So this test is going to have diversity in it, all of chapter 14, and a lot of the workforce staffing, particularly the FTEs. So that will open after class, remain open till next Tuesday, and will close at 11:59 next Tuesday night, which would be the 13th, okay? So that being said, let's get into this PowerPoint. When it comes to presentations, let me check assignments. And if we go to the article, we have, oh, and Jacqueline's here to present her article. Thank you, Jacqueline. Yeah, Jacqueline and Amanda did a beautiful job last week. Now we're going to have Jacqueline present her article. You submitted it, correct?
Yeah.
So I'll be able to bring it up. So I will bring that up. So yes, I'm supposed to have 3 people that have submitted their article. Tram, if she views the Zoom recording, it was due last week. Amanda submitted hers, and Jacqueline will be presenting her article today. And let's go straight to that. So I will bring up the speed grading. And here, oh, beautiful. I love color. I do. So I will download, or I can just open right here. Yeah, we're already viewing it, so no need of me downloading. And I'm giving Jacqueline the screen. She's going to talk about her article.
All right, so I just found an article about the comparison of food service management between dietitians and non-dietitians, specifically in senior centers. And it actually took place in Korea. So they have a little bit of, it's a little different there than how we do it here. But the main point of it was just to kind of see what, I don't know, was what they viewed as important between dietitians and non-dietitians. And they seem to have pretty different views on what was important and what wasn't important.
Okay, good.
Let's see, so yeah, it was done in Korea, and it was just a study based on surveys and questionnaires. So it was only done by the people that were working already in the position as food service management in the senior centers. So basically I just put in some quotes about like the importance of nutritional values in the senior centers and what they get by eating together and offering that social setting. And said some of the problems that could arise from absence of the professional dietitians include unsystematic operation management and insufficient nutrition education and unhealthy menus, which could all lead to serious issues in a senior center. Yeah, so it just said these findings are important because they could, it helps us understand the importance of hiring professional dietitians.
Okay.
So the questionnaires, they were quantitative data regarding food service management. Before they were given out, they were validated by 5 dietitians that were working at senior centers. And they were completed by 55 dietitians and 35 non-dietitians who all worked in the setting. 90% of the respondents were female. Most of the dietitians were aged 25 to 30, and the non-dietitians were around 40 and older, which I thought was pretty interesting. And the questionnaire focused on 21 food service management duties in 7 different categories. And the categories were human resource management, financial management, purchasing management, food production, and menu and nutrition management, and facility management. And the analysis was done using t-tests, and all of the tests were conducted by computerized statistical package, SPSS. And there was a lot of charts that I couldn't take from the article and put in there, but the charts were pretty impressive too.
Yeah, the charts help show the results. So good.
Take it in, kind of. Yeah, so more than half the senior centers were operated by social welfare corporations, and the dietitian perceived importance of employee communication, work schedule management, meal round performance, and menu preference higher than the non-dietitians. And there were significant differences for 8 job activities, 2 of which were purchasing management, 4 of which in the category of nutrition management and menu cycle, and then work schedule management and administration work performance. So the dietitian group identified facility management as high importance, but low in performance for them specifically. So then they identified some different bias that could have been in the study. And they said the differences in analysis between the 2 groups may reflect bias due to respondents' degree of knowledge and professional ability. So the dietitians may have been able to be more self-aware and better able to recognize what they think is important and what they think they're doing well and not doing well in.
Mm-hmm.
And another limitation of the study is that there may not have been, sorry.
You're getting help.
Yeah. That's something to say too. Another limitation of the study is that there may be other aspects that could affect food service management that aren't listed in the categories that were addressed. So they could be things that might be distracting them from just what was being addressed in the questionnaires. So the conclusion of the study was that 34% of the non-dietitian managers had limited educational background with just a high school degree, which that was one of the differences that I thought would be different in Korea based than around here, because I know you usually need to have a college degree to be a food service manager.
Or at least have the CDM certification, certified dietary manager, which is usually equivalent to a associate degree, very close to that, or there's a 90 credit course that they can take, and then they sit for the national exam to get their CDM.
Okay. Yeah, and then it said basically again that they need to ensure menu management, or it could lead to insufficient nutritional balance and low customer satisfaction. It also said that food service managers, again, complete additional work, so they might not be able to focus on like some of the important nutritional and menu cycle areas. The dietitian group perceived categories including financial management, production, and distribution management, and menu and nutrition to be important, and they perceived that they did this well. And the non-dietitian group needed attention on the menu and nutrition management. And I did say this in the last slide, the facility management was found to be highly important, but low performance by the dietitians. So I think basically in conclusion, like both the dietitian and the non-dietitian had different things that they focused on. But I think they said it's just very important that there be dietitians, whether they're the food service manager or not, that they're in the setting to ensure that.
Good. A lot you can take from this article presentation. Very good job, by the way, Jacqueline. This topic hasn't been addressed in previous food service management. I find it very interesting. I like an article that Amanda presented, I had never read, and it brought out, this was really unique in that we can relate it to what we do here in the United States. As I mentioned, is that to be a food service director in our healthcare settings, may it be particularly in long-term care, assisted living, rehab centers, hospitals, typically, but not always, go towards that bachelor's degree, and which would be someone who is a RD, or someone who maybe got a degree in management, but they're focusing on the food service management aspect. But as you said, it's important to have both working together, because you find that the non-degrees, they focused more on facility management. We also call that being very operational. And if we go back to possibly the seven, what would I say, seven food service management responsibilities that we looked at in chapter 13, organizing, planning, coordinating, directing, budgeting. The non-degree could be focusing more on those areas versus a registered dietitian, a DTR, which also a lot of our DTRs are food service directors, or they work with that food service director, because we have to admit that your DTRs, your RDs are going to be a lot more knowledgeable as far as menu planning, but making sure that that nutritional aspect is being met. They're also going to focus a lot on making sure that the preferences of their population is being addressed, because they go and they actually visit their residents upon admission, and just ongoing, staying on top of their likes and dislikes, because we know that's important. That if somebody doesn't like something, many times they're not going to eat it. And if they're not going to eat their food, you're going to start having nutritional problems, not only weight loss, but just complications with their overall well-being, if they have any needed dietary restrictions. And of course, that RD, DTR is going to be more knowledgeable as far as what someone living with diabetes would need in their diet, those that need to be on a low sodium diet, have fat restrictions, and we can go on and on. That's why we need both. You need somebody that's going to focus on the performance and operation, but you also need somebody to focus on that nutritional aspect and the satisfaction of customers. So teamwork is what we prefer. And as you can see in this country, they also identified the need, the strengths of both to work together. Very, very good article, by the way. Very good job. Thank you for coming and presenting it. Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully all of you realize that these articles tie into what we're learning. The textbook is just a reminder, Jacqueline, if you can upload your written report, hit add so that your PowerPoint doesn't disappear. It remains, and you're just adding your actual article and your written report. And if we go back to what Amanda presented last week, and this is Amanda, she has a PowerPoint, she has her written report, and she has the actual article attached. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I had a question about the reference page. So I
Let's go back.
referenced some of their references in the article, but I only need to reference the article that I read, right?
You're correct. You only reference the article you read. You can reference your textbook or any other resources you use to better understand and present that material.
Okay.
Good. Very good question.
Thank you.
So, excellent job. From here, I want to go back. So next week, if possible, you're not here. If Lee and also Jay can, be present to present your articles, that would be very, very nice if you can. Again, hopefully you're watching the recording, okay? And then the following week on the 20th, we have Tram, and then Katori, who's usually always present. I'm sure she'll be able to be here on the 27th, and hopefully Roberta can also attend. Let me go to our modules because I want to go to chapter 14. I really need to cover chapter 14. I also have a YouTube video titled Employee Engagement, How to Motivate Employees. If I have time, which I may not, I'll play it after my discussion on chapter 14. But please take advantage of not only reading the chapter, you got to read from your textbook, the entire chapter, go over the PowerPoint. But if I have any short videos, I have one near the end here. But every once in a while, I find something that I think can really help sort of cover that information a little bit more, cite some examples of how do you motivate employees. So that was a pretty good YouTube. So let's go into the PowerPoint itself. And okay, I have about 45 minutes to cover this. Okay, so let me get started. This is your leadership chapter, and I'm not, I'll go over the introduction, but I don't want to go over every key concept. I want to dig right into the material, but don't ignore key concepts. It's sort of like an outline of the information that's within that chapter. So this chapter does begin the subject of motivation, and it ends with managing change, two concepts that now are seen critical for leadership effectiveness. And we needed a chapter to focus just on leadership because it's your leadership abilities it takes to really effectively communicate with your employees. Because you can tell people do this, do that, but you're really promoting someone to be more reactive, where but you want people to be proactive. You want to be able to transform your employees where they know what they need to do. They're self-starters. They can make some decisions on their own. They can communicate more effectively with, to you. You're going to have questions about your job because things come up. But to make sure that you just don't jump and do something without, clearing it or discussing it with your immediate supervisor or even discussing it with your coworkers. There's so many ways that effective communication can include you as a decision maker and also develop a good teamwork. And it's I can see parts of Jacqueline's presentation just now that that ties in with leadership, that ties in with communication, because the dietitians and those managers that were non-dietitians, they have to be able to work as a team, again, communicating with one another, because it's all about giving the best care to those residents, patients, clients, whatever that population may be. Yeah, leaders are those individuals who assume management of food service organization will be successful to the degree that they're willing to assume responsibility and maintain good human relations. I can see that based on the article just presented between the dietitians and the non-dietitians as far as managing that food service department, that it's all about taking responsibility and maintain good human relations. Yeah, we need to be able to understand, respect everyone's position. And we can go back to some of the terms from chapter 13, that holism, and making sure that we're not working separately. And then at the end, try to piece everybody's work together. And you have to maintain that concept of holism. The sum of its parts is more than help me out. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Okay, so that's important. These are those key concepts that I don't want to read over because of time purposes. But these are the same key concepts that are listed at the beginning of your chapter. And it summarizes the information, and it helps you to realize what information you need to be retaining within the chapter itself. So these are your key concepts. And you see it's several slides. Yeah, then we go into effective communication, very important. We also talk about effective communication and dietetic foundations, okay? Jacqueline, were you in dietetic foundations last semester? Help me out. No. And Amanda, both of you will be in dietetic foundations in the fall. So make sure that you register for those courses. Yeah. Okay. And that's another thing. If I haven't advised you for your summer, fall courses, email me so that we can set up an appointment so you'll know what courses you need to take. Okay. But that's effective communication. Okay. And yeah, we're still looking at key concepts. There are barriers to effective communication. And finally, what forms of communication tend to be the most effective when you are trying to communicate with anyone, not only employees within a food service department. Let's talk about motivation. Motivation is a huge part of leadership. Leaders motivate me, and a motivation can be positive, motivation can be negative, but of course we try to focus on positive motivation, because through positive forms of motivation is how we are able to reach our organizational goals and objectives. So again, we want to make sure that we are accomplishing what we're being paid, what we're responsible for. It's not just that manager responsible for getting things accomplished. It's the entire department. So you want to motivate everyone. You want everyone to be excited like we are in what we're doing. Okay. And if you don't have a motivated leader or food service manager, how's everybody else going to be? You know, you come into work and you barely say good morning if you say good morning. You know, so again, good morning. You know, I want to share one story, and then we're going to get into these slides. Years ago, I was hired to work for at the Academy of Culinary Arts at Atlantic Cape Community College. And their faculty was very, very nice. Predominantly male from different countries. I was probably one of the second or third females that had joined the faculty. So we were definitely in the minority. Not only was I a minority because I was female, I was also African American. I was a dietitian, which made me different because they were all chefs and I was a dietitian. Although I had, culinary skills, but of course, being there for over 15 years, my culinary skills increased, tremendously. And I loved what I did. And I think that showed when I was there because the chef says, oh, who is this new person coming in? And this new person would come in every morning and say, good morning. And at first, nobody said good morning back. And then I would say, good morning again. Maybe I hear somebody go, good morning. All right. As the weeks went on, I got more good mornings back. And actually, other people were saying good morning. Can you imagine that that was their culture? They would just come in the morning, just drag themselves into the office. And we had cubicles. So we were in this big room that had these cubicles. So, we could actually stand up and we can wave to each other. I mean, I never worked in a place that you didn't come in and say, good morning. Anyway, I didn't stop doing it. It was just me. And after a while, that's what everybody started doing. Yeah, saying good morning and so forth. So again, that's part of uplifting, isn't it? And it comes from leaders. It comes from all of us. So let's talk about some of the historical motivational theories. And we're going to start with Maslow. Hierarchy of Needs, 1954. And we do have a diagram of that pyramid. And the concept was that there were 5 basic needs. And that pyramid, that very base of the pyramid, think of that as a foundation. Without the foundation, the other levels will not occur. So you need a strong foundation. And what were those, what would we call physiological needs? If Jacqueline or Amanda can unmute and tell me what those physiological needs were.
Their food, water, air, shelter, clothing.
Yes. And just think about it. If those needs are not met, what would your life be like? It just shows that we have a large percentage of our population, and even more during the pandemic, that are what we call food insecure, or they could just be physiologically insecure, because not only food, it could be shelter, it could be water, it could be clean, adequate air. So if any of those are taken away, and some people, it's a reality, but for me, I put myself in somebody else's shoes. How am I going to feel? How will my life be if I didn't have adequate food? You can just take food away. But if it's food, shelter, clothing, the more things that are missing that are physiological needs, how demotivating that is. And when you're not motivated, we all react in different ways. You can be depressed, you can be angry, you can be, help me out. What are some of the ways that people react when their physiological needs are not being met? Yes, Jacqueline.
Some people just lose motivation, like to do anything. I guess it kind of goes with like depressed, but
Oh, yes. Yeah. Anger, they give up, and people say, oh, why don't you go out and look for a job? And then people start blaming them for their own situation. And really, that's the last thing you need is for somebody to add fuel to the flame when you already are blaming yourself and you're just down and people just don't understand. And they say, well, you need to try harder. Words aren't what they need. They need help. They need financial help. And if you look at it, a lot of these physiological needs are met financially, aren't they? If you think about it. So if somebody lost their job, if somebody, I don't know, had to stop working because of an ill child or husband or mom or dad, we can come up with all kinds of, causes for physiological needs not being met. What's that next level? Jacqueline, do you remember that after the physiological needs, which we named the food, the shelter, the clothing, water, what's that next level?
I don't remember.
A peek at your book.
I know I have it, but not open.
Okay, yeah. Always open up your books. What, Amanda, do you remember?
Safety needs.
Yes, safety needs. Oh my gosh, safety again is so critical. I don't know which one, but the way Maslow described it is if your physiological needs are not being met, how are your safety needs going to be met? That one enables another to occur. And safety, again, is a very broad area. Safety has to do with the fact that you have health insurance. Health insurance is a safety net, isn't it? What else are safety nets? Health insurance. What else can you think of has to do with safety?
Probably having good house security, having like a system set up in your own home.
Exactly. Where you live. Some of us just have more, we have a more unsafe environment. Yeah. And an unsafe environment could be, living, more in urban environment versus rural. It could be that you live close to a, I don't know, oil refinery, maybe a factory that has impurities. We can go on and on about safety. And you just can't get up and relocate because of safety reasons. Financially, you just can't afford to live anywhere else but where you are. So safety, we could sit here probably for another hour and talk about safety in general. And just one thing, all of these physiological needs, safety needs have been really impacted because of the pandemic. And we're talking about around the world, not only here in the United States. If we never focus on physiological needs, safety needs, what's that next level after safety?
Social needs.
Social needs. Social needs have really been impacted, haven't they? All of them have been impacted. What do we mean by social needs?
Like communicating with other people, like physically.
Yes. Look at us now. You know, we're not meeting face to face in Blackwood in a classroom. We're here on Zoom, and in many cases, I am thankful for some of our ways of at least having a camera so I can see Jacqueline and Amanda, and we can communicate back and forth. It's better than not being able to communicate at all. It's better than me just putting this information up in Canvas and telling you to go in there, read your book, and go through the PowerPoints. And by the way, I posted the test. know, I think it's much better because we can engage. Engagement so important. You'll be taking life cycle nutrition, and from infancy, how an infant engaging with their mom or dad or caregiver, how important it is to be a part of their ability to thrive and to grow. And that's the same with us. During this pandemic, there have been so many people that have been isolated because they've been shut in. They don't always have a computer and internet accessibility to go on Zoom or go meeting or whatever it may be. They may have a phone. That's why it's important that you call up friends, relatives, and just say, hello, I'm thinking about you, because we are so closed in because of the pandemic. And hopefully, we'll get more people able to come together. I really enjoyed my Easter. It was just a wonderful gathering with my brother, my sister-in-law, my sister, her daughter, son-in-law, my great nieces and nephews, my family. Most of us are vaccinated now, which made us really feel good, but definitely just being able to go outside, it was just, I'm still feeling good about Sunday. And you start realizing how you took so much for granted prior to the pandemic. Yeah, that's that socialization. What's that next level? So we've named the physiological, safety, social. Again, there's 5 levels. What's that level right above social?
Self-esteem.
Self-esteem. That's how you feel about yourself. Yeah. So many individuals, their self-esteem has been just lowered. And it's because of, number one, your physiological needs not being met, your safety needs not being met, your social needs are not being met. So how are you going to feel about yourself? Do you feel like you belong? Do you feel loved? Do you feel appreciated? Do you think that people are even remembering you, because you haven't been able to go different places that you would have been normally able to see people on a regular basis? Oh, that's a part of motivation, just feeling good. And what's that tip of the pyramid?
Self-actualization needs.
Yes. What do we mean by self-actualization? Let's talk about that. What have we achieved at that tip of the pyramid?
It's feeling like you have lived up to your potential, like you're working the hardest that you can, and you're
Yes.
everything you can.
There are so many people, and yes, it can happen at younger ages. It can happen if you're 17, 18, Because if you feel that you should have accomplished so much during grades 12, K through 12, and you know people that are applying to go to college or they're doing this, and you have no plans after high school, you feel that you haven't lived up to your potential. You know, you haven't reached that acquisition, that your dream that you thought you would be at a certain time just isn't there. I speak to people from time to time and they said, you know what, I never thought that at this time in my life, I would be where I am now. And they're talking about financially or just, maybe career wise. And again, everybody wants to reach that potential that they always hoped and dreamed. Now, again, just knowing you're on your way and that you've seen accomplishments over the years can put you closer to that self-accusation. But I love Maslow, 1954. Let me see, McCullen. Okay. Expectancy theory, that definitely ties into Maslow. Okay. Yeah, you have things that you expect to happen. I'm trying to grab my textbook real quick. I'm forever hiding things from myself. I wanted to go over some, oh, here my book's right in front of me. Oh, right in front of me. Yeah, it's good to always have your textbook ready so that we can look over different terms. Definitions, very, very important. Yes. On page 358, we have the expectancy theory. Theory that states motivation is a function of a person's ability to achieve the task and his or her desire to do so. First of all, that word accomplish is in there. As long as you're accomplishing things that you have planned to do, that's motivation in itself. And it's good to focus. Not focus, but reflect. Reflect on your life, because the more you reflect, find the accomplishments that you have achieved through your life. And so many people dwell too much on what they haven't accomplished. But what have you accomplished? Yeah, think about that, and that helps to motivate you. And it's like, let's stay positive here, okay? Don't focus on the negative, focus on the positive. Again, that expectancy theory is very, very important. Current thinking on motivation, this is what we're going through now. Some of the current thinking of motivation. There are 4 of them, and I'm just going to read them out. The first one is it possible for a manager to motivate an employee? And some people say, no, maybe, but through looking at different motivational theories, we see that a manager can help. Yes, it is ultimately each one of our responsibilities to be responsible for what we need to do to motivate ourselves. But as a manager, as a leader, you can put things in place that can help individuals be more motivated. And you can put obstacles in or barriers or things that just make it harder for people to even be motivated, by taking things from them, and on the job punishing them because maybe they didn't finish something in time, instead of finding out, what's the reason why you didn't finish on time. Okay, so it's all about communication, listening, and and letting people know, let's work on this together, and not making people think that it's solely their responsibility. All right. Don't you hate when you have someone calling you and it's unknown? I said, well, you're going to stay unknown because I'm not answering. Okay, so I had to get my phone because it was making noise there. Yeah, so again, our current thinking on motivation. Here's another one. Money is a good motivator. And they're using it now with the stimulus checks. Yeah, hoping that motivates people. Let's talk about that. What are your thoughts about money as a good motivator?
I mean, I think that money can be a good motivator. I really genuinely do. I mean, I know a lot of people who, as soon as they get their stimulus check, are like, I'm going out to eat, I'm supporting my local businesses.
Okay.
So
okay.
it's definitely affecting some people in that sense.
Yes.
Personally, I'm just trying to save it, but
it is a motivator. Yes, it is. What do you think, Jacqueline?
Yeah, so I work in food service now.
Where do you work?
I work at Kessler Rehab.
Oh, okay. I think you told me that before.
Yeah.
Yes. I know people at Kessler Rehab. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
they always are saying like, oh, well, if you want me to do this, I want to get paid more for this and this, that, and the other. So
it is definitely used as a motivator. My thoughts on money is that it's a motivator, but it's somewhat temporary. That's my drawback there. And it's almost like the sky's the limit with money. You have to almost keep pouring it out to keep somebody at that level of motivation. That's the only drawback, that it's not something that will keep someone at a high motivational level for an extended period of time. We're all excited when we get extra money. But once you've spent that money, you're almost like, what? Oh, well, it came and now it's gone. Think of it that way. Okay. The book said, not really. Satisfaction of lower level needs such as money, job security, and nice facilities can help employees from becoming less motivated, but it does not help them to become more motivated. When it comes to fear is a good motivator. We have people that will just put the fear of God in you. And they said, well, if people are frightened enough, that'll motivate them. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, I'd say fear is definitely like a short-term motivation. Like initially, for some people, that will spark them to get a move on things. But for some people, it really doesn't do much. After so much time, people kind of become resistant to it.
Yes. And do you want to use those fear tactics? Sometimes, there are better ways of motivating people. Sometimes the fear tactic can be on a cruel, sometimes it can be demeaning, belittling. So it can take different forms that may not always be the best way of going about motivating somebody. Fear is a very good short-term motivator, but very often is a demotivator for long term. Yeah, it can turn people off and put a bitter taste in their mouth. It can also make them sort of, what would I say? Um, you can lose respect for someone who has used fear tactics. So you just makes you dislike that person who did that. So it's not always a good way. Here's the fourth one. What motivates me, the manager, will motivate my staff. What motivates me will motivate you. What do you think?
I mean, that comes down to having regular meetings and getting to know your staff individually, because everyone is different for what they need to push them.
Exactly. Everybody has different needs and wants. And that's why, as a manager, and that manager has to take on good leadership skills, you've got to get to know your staff. You've got to ask them. You've got to let them talk, and you've got to listen. And you have to tap in on certain things. It's just like there's places you can work for Christmas. They decide they're going to give everybody a mug with the company name on it. I don't know, or something, some little trinket, a coaster with the company name on it, and that was your Christmas gift. Okay, you might say, oh, that's nice. And you bring it home and it winds up going into a drawer, or I don't know where it might go, but it really was not a motivator. It didn't work. Okay. Here's our Maslow hierarchy of needs. So memorize this pyramid and be able to name each level like we did earlier, and be able to talk about why each level is so important when it comes to motivation. So leadership, although managers and leaders both have minds and souls, they tend to emphasize the use of one or the other as they function in the organization. Going back to Jacqueline's article that she presented, yes, there are definitely differences in the leadership abilities of the dietitians versus the non-dietitians when it comes to food service, because it's what you've learned, is what your experiences have been. So it has to do with how versed those leaders are. So the more experience the leaders have, the more they can bring to the organization, and hopefully expose the employees to different experiences. So we're going to talk more about that. But they all bring their minds and their souls, and they do tend to emphasize the use of one or the other as a function of organization. Peter Drucker made a statement, and it's in your textbook, that there are 3 basic requirements for effective leadership. He said leaders must think through the organization's mission. That's very important. We talked about the organization's mission in chapter 13. Everything you do within a facility should relate to your mission. Because in order to make sure that you are carrying on the mission of the organization, everything you do needs to be a part of the organization's mission. So thinking through is coming up with things that can get your employees involved in accomplishing that mission. And you don't even have to say the word mission. they're just, you're allowing them to participate in getting something achieved and accomplished in that workplace. And just allowing them to participate, they're motivated, makes them feel good that they're achieving, that they're being a part of something. We can definitely see some Maslow in there. Leaders view leadership as a responsibility and not a privilege. That's the leader themselves again. Some people feel very privileged because they have this title. It's almost like they're wearing this big button on their chest saying, I'm the boss, or I'm the manager. And again, they just feel that they're entitled, and they don't focus on that responsibility. You have a responsibility as a leader to meet the mission of the organization, to meet the goals, to meet objectives, to get your employees, involved, and to help them become more, responsible for their jobs. Everybody needs to be responsible, but it starts at the top. If your leader's not responsible for what they need to be doing, then again, it's hard to get employees to be responsible for their job responsibilities and duties. Leaders must earn trust. That's it's not just given to you like here, this privilege. I deserve to be trusted. Trust me because I'm the food service manager. I don't know where this trust is supposed to come from, but trust is earned. And that's very, very truthful. And trust is something that is what would I say, doesn't happen overnight. And it is accomplished by deeds, and one deed after another, until people start really seeing that this person's authentic. This is really who this person is. Because when you are saying one thing and doing another, and doing another thing and saying another, people are like shaking their head and saying, what's going on here? I don't know what to believe. I don't know really what to do, because sometimes we use that term, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. That trust knows that you can put all this extra effort and it's going to be paid off. It's worth it. Yeah. So it motivates people when they trust who they're working with. Very, very, without trust, that can be very devastating, that lack of trust. These are some traditional leadership roles. Popular theory in the 1990s concerning primarily with the best method and the right wage for a job. And this is discussed on page, right wage for a job. Yeah, this is scientific management. It's on page 361. There's a paragraph, and under that scientific management, they talked about Frederick Taylor, the founder of the Principles of Scientific Manager. They talked about Frank and Lillian Gilbreth. So just a small paragraph about that. Then they go into human relations approach. And you can see where these motivational theories tied into the management theories, because we talked about classical management. Okay, Then we had the scientific management, operational. Of course, even before that, we had the human relations management. So all of these also tied in to certain motivational approaches, newly approaches to leadership. So we're into our modern or systems management, theory X, theory Y. And this begins on page 362. This is McGregor's theory, theory X, theory Y. Real quick, I would ask for some participation, but theory X, remember, these theories is what that manager thinks and how they feel. And the way you think and how you feel actually surfaces and comes out in the way you treat people. And they're saying, if you think that your employees are more of that theory X, meaning they're not motivated, they don't really like their job, they're coming to work for a paycheck, they have no creativity. Sometimes managers say, oh, my workers are so lazy. You know, I got to tell them everything to do. They can't think for themselves. The more a manager thinks that way, you treat people that way. And we can go back to children. If you tell a child, oh, you're so lazy. Oh, what's wrong with you? Oh, they start what? Thinking that and start acting more that way that you keep dwelling and putting in their head. But theory Y, your employees want to participate. They're creative. And that's going back to what Amanda said earlier. You have to get to know your employees. What are their strengths? What are they good at? What are their interests? You know, what's motivational for them? What are they looking for in their job? And if you listen and you start using what they're telling you to meet their needs, that's that theory Y. It's going to be very motivational because you're bringing out the best of your employees. Theory X, you're bringing out the worst. You know, yeah. So theory Y is what we should focus on. And you can always find something positive about anyone. Not first of all, I say if you're a manager, you hired this person, you hired them. Why did you hire them if they don't have some abilities and something they can bring to the job that can be helpful? You know, why did you hire somebody that's lazy? You know, why don't you train them? You know, somehow, you know, not everybody, they're not really lazy. A lot of people are just not interested. There's reasons for them not acting on things. So, you know, bring it out of them, bring that, you know, that talent, you know, find out what it is they're good at. Situational management, and I may have to end with situational management here. Effectiveness of the leader is a function of individual leader, the subordinate, the social economical interests, and the situational variables. Initiating structure, consideration, managerial grid, F goal theory. These are some of the tools that you can use, and they start basically on page 362 with the situational management. And then over on page 363, they talk about situational management. And this is the effectiveness of a leader is a function of the individual leader. Okay, We already had that definition on the slide. Initiating structure, the relationship between the leader and the members of the work group. Consideration, behavior that indicates friendship, mutual trust, respect, warmth between leader and the work group. That reminds me about just saying good morning to everyone. Yeah, just recognizing that people are there. Okay, yeah, when you just walk in a room and don't say hello or give people eye contact or something, you're not even considering. Look at that word, consideration. You're not giving them any consideration at all. So opening communication within your organization is very important. Path goal theory, functions of a leader should consist of increasing personal rewards, clarifying pathways for goal attainment for subordinates. Yeah, so again, we want people to know if they put in more effort that, this is there are incentives that you can earn, but everybody has to be on that equal playing field. You have to make sure that everyone is aware of expectations, what they should be doing to get an increase in salary, to receive certain perks on the job. This is the same diagram you see at the, actually, yeah, it's at the top of page 364. And take a look at this. This is a chart that just shows the difference between the use of authority by the manager and the area of freedom for the subordinate. And it tells you the more freedom you give them, that motivation increases. You have to give some authority, but the more you give them some freedom, take on extra responsibility, it increases motivation. Contingency theories of leadership. This ties into chapter 13. You do have to make decisions based on that situation. Holds and managerial activities should be adjusted to fit the situation. People love flexibility, and some people say, oh, if you're too flexible, people are going to take advantage of you. No. You want to be able to sit down. Now, you're not supposed to let everybody know everyone's situation, first of all. That's confidential. You have an office with the door closed. You have that employee talk about what their situation is, and you listen, and you adjust things to fit what their needs are. And the more you do that, people are motivated. They feel good because they say, wow, somebody was actually listening. They were actually listening. Take a look at servant leader. Is motivated by the natural desire to serve, not to lead, and puts others before him or herself. So you're looking at that employee and you're putting that employee before your personal needs, definitely. Because as a manager, as a leader, we really don't have personal needs. That's our responsibility to do our job. But in order to get others to do their job, we've got to be able to look at their situation, and you have to make adjustments for individuals. This is just showing some leaders, and as women, we've had some very good leaders, and how did they, become, a commander of a space shuttle, and we, again, Women's History Month, wasn't that last month, March? Yeah, I think, and we had a lot of women that have paved the way for how we're able to accomplish things. Take a look at the types of power and their use. So read these over. And it doesn't say that any of these powers are bad, but when you are adjusting certain situations, we can use different forms of power. Sometimes we do have to use some coerciveness. Yes, sometimes we have to use rewards. We have to use legitimate. The fact that we are, given the title that we have that power to make decisions. People like the fact that you can make decisions, but again, we want to be able to make decisions that are important to our employees also. What decisions actually will fit their particular needs? Yes, we are the expert. We need to be knowledgeable and make sure that we're using our past experiences and knowledge. And referent and charismatic power, this is that that ability for people to listen and to be engaged in what we're saying. There are certain speakers that just very charismatic. The way that they, look in the camera, and you say, "Wow, they're actually speaking to me." So there's a way of just being a more effective communicator, effective communication. Read this. This will be in your test. There are different types of communication: oral, written, visual aids, body language, facial expression, gestures, actions. There are barriers to effective communication. You can't help if a barrier is there, but knowing a barrier is there and how to get around that barrier is key. May it be a language use, different backgrounds, circumstances in which the communication occurs. Leadership, improving communication, leadership rounding. I talked about this last week, I believe. When you take 15 minutes a week, you rotate throughout your staff, and one person at a time, bring someone in and just get to know them. Get to know, what's happening in the job for them. Are we meeting your needs? Do you have enough of the tools you need to do your job? Come up with some key questions. And this is part of appraisal. That was Amanda last week. She talked about, evaluating. And that once a year evaluation is really not good at all. You should be evaluating people on a day-to-day basis. Just by saying, hello, good morning, how are you today? And just standing there and sort of monitoring what they're doing and say, wow, you're doing a good job there. Or if you see something that can be of improvement, you say, oh, I see you're doing something this way. Let me show you, maybe you can try this. So again, it's just ongoing. Ethic and social responsibility. So we covered diversity already. So most of the diversity is in this chapter, but we have that PowerPoint. It's the workforce staffing PowerPoint. Functional responsibilities, required skills. These are the required skills of a good leader. A little bit more about supervision, decision-making, change management, and I basically covered. Read the chapter, but I think I went over some of the key aspects and I ran over a little bit. but I did want to finish this chapter. Any questions? We're good? Thank you, Jacqueline and Amanda. Thank you for attending, and particularly Amanda for last week's presentation, which definitely tied into our information today. And Jacqueline's was very, very timely with her topic and article presentation. And thank you. Don't forget, I'll be posting your test, and you have a whole week to complete your test. Take care.
Alrighty, thank you. Have a good week.
You too. Bye-bye. Enjoy the weather.